People exposed to toxic dust and chemicals in the aftermath of 9/11 have elevated risk of cancer, respiratory, and other illnesses. But first responders are only a portion of those affected, with tens of thousands of people at risk who worked, lived, or attended school in and around the exposure zone. Attorney Michael Barasch worked adjacent to the towers and represents thousands of workers in the 9/11 community.
They did the autopsy of my client, Detective James Z. Rogan, in 2006, and inside his lung tissue, they found ground glass, asbestos, chromium, lead, benzene. These are all known carcinogens.
The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency incorrectly said the air was safe to breathe fewer than a week after the Twin Towers fell. It's been 21 years, but survivors vividly recalled the cloud of ashes and smell of death that blanketed the area for months.
I think back, and it's probably we were all inhaling, other people's ashes.
Survivors have access to lifetime health care through the World Trade Center Health Program, but only a fraction of people eligible are participating. More than 80% of first responders have enrolled, but fewer than 10% of eligible civilians are getting compensated.
The concern I have is that, if people don't know, then they'll never register.
A new bill would require businesses in the exposure zone to inform employees from that period about their eligibility for the health care and September 11th Victim Compensation Fund. The bill would apply to businesses with 50 or more workers. Sponsor Assemblyman Nader Sayegh says it's a critical part to get the word out, as many people left the city after 9/11, scattering survivors and their families across the world.
It's not something that's costly. It's the right thing to do.
Dion Ortega Valdez worked on Wall Street on September 11th and estimates about 65% of the people she worked with then are suffering from or have died from related cancer or respiratory illness. She moved upstate 15 years ago and is battling breast cancer likely tied to her exposure.
9/11 is pushed back so far in my head that I never even discussed it, honestly, with my healthcare professionals in the Hudson Valley, so they didn't even know anything about it.
Survivor Indira Alcantara, who lives in Poughkeepsie, said revisiting the trauma of 9/11 is difficult, but says it must be done for survivors to understand their medical risks and potentially save their lives.
9/11 did mess up a lot of people. It's not something that goes away.
Survivors, advocates, and lawmakers agree. Working together is the only way to make headway for the 9/11 community.
We have a moral obligation to look out for each other.